You ever sit down, do something, homework, work email, literally anything, and your brain just refuses? Yes, real life. Confusing side quest. Smash Brothers. Divine purpose. Jesus Christ. Like, a full system shut down. Gone. But then, for some reason, if it's something like opening a video game, suddenly you have the focus of a Navy SEAL, the patience of a monk, and the strategic mind of a general. Yeah, that's not a coincidence. Hi, I'm GeekySama, a neurodivergent wannabe writer and fan of indie games who enjoys exploring the crossover of gaming and mental health. So let's touch on the ADHD brain and why games tend to be the only thing that makes sense. For a long time, I didn't understand that. I just knew that school, social situations, routines, and expectations felt heavy, but games, they felt clear. They made sense. It made sense to me. Like life was some kind of abstract journey with no instructions, but gaming was structured, engaging, and actually told me what to do next. Real life just be like, who designed this game? What is this? What's the deal here? In a game, you have objective, it updates, collect the sword, kill the chicken, get killed by chickens, defeat the boss, save the village. It's all structured. It all works, pretty much. And here's the thing nobody told me back then, and kind of like the reason why I'm making this video. When you grow up with an ADHD brain and you don't understand it, you don't just struggle in school. You build an entire identity around being the problem, the lazy one, the one who doesn't apply themselves, the one with potential who never quite delivers. And every year that nobody names what's actually happening, you piled on more evidence. By the time you're an adult, you're just not dealing with ADHD. You're dealing with 20 years of believing you're worthless on top of it. And that's real cost. Not the missed homework, not the unfinished projects, the years you spent thinking that you were the problem. Quick story time. In second grade, I was a bubbly, joyful kid who loved making people laugh. My second grade teacher's response was to pin a monkey tail on me and walk me through the hallways, announcing I was the class monkey. Bitch. And after that, I learned really fast that the parts of me that felt most alive were the parts that got me punished. If anything, all of that is staying with me, because the thing that helped me figure out this out wasn't therapy or diagnosis. It was gaming. It was gaming. It was like my journey through gaming and content creation, and then just sitting down with my portable console, Game Boy, Steam Deck, whatever. Those are the things that I feel they made me realize that there was something off about me, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. So today we're talking about ADHD, gaming, and why for a lot of us. I've owned Skyrim on 6 different platforms. 6 including the one on the Amazon Alexa. I have never finished it. Todd Howard knows where I live and he's disappointed in me. So, what were we talking about? So, the neurological relationship between... I once played for 9 hours and I thought it was 2. This is basically what my childhood felt like, and even now sometimes. So in short, because I know your attention span, and frankly mine too, ADHD brains tend to struggle with motivation, reward, and staying engaged with anything that's slow or gives nothing back. Which is basically most of real life. It is. It is. It's life. That's just life, man. Games are the opposite of that. Clear goals, fast feedback, visible progress, constant stimulation. You do something, the game responds, you improve, the game tells you, you unlock something, the brain gets hit with exactly what it's been looking for. It has that new feel thing, exactly what you've been starving for. It does a great job of providing constant novelty, which is something that ADHD brain will look for, like new things, interesting things, novelty. For a brain that almost never gets that from real life, school chores, social situations, work, game are just fun. They feel like the only place where effort actually makes sense. And that's not necessarily weakness or laziness. That's neurology. That's how we're wired. Like, you can think of it, if you have a ADHD, you're running a different OS. A bit of a story time. I grew up in a farm, isolated, not a lot of other kids around. Real life already felt slightly disconnected to me, like I was watching through a glass. Social situations had rules. I couldn't figure out school. Social situations had rules. I couldn't quite figure out school. School moved at a speed my brain refused to cooperate with. I was either too much or completely invisible. But then I pick up a controller and something just would shift. It was as if life was a weird simulation or dream, and gaming was when I was awake. In Smash Brothers, I was the kid who couldn't sit still. I was the one nobody could beat. The one who read the room, anticipated every move, responded in real time, and won. I could adapt like that. And it happened with a lot of other games too. I tend to be like a top performer in my group of friends. So yes, I was a god during my Smash Bros sessions. The same brain that got me in trouble for not paying attention was paying attention to everything on that game, picking up on everything. And in a way, I feel like we have like this constant scanning for information, and we're really good like about what's happening around us like at the moment. And it's weird because you would think with ADHD that couldn't be a thing, but it is. And then socially, games gave me a script, a reason to talk to people, a common language when I didn't have one. I struggled a lot. I struggled with social interactions, keeping friendships and connections. But in games, it felt like I could talk to people, or at least through games, I could like make friendships that they actually held up. This is something that I saw very, very directly during COVID and during the time where I started creating content with video games and live streaming and whatnot. I didn't realize it at the time, but gaming wasn't just something I was doing for fun. It was just a place where my brain was just actually working, and it felt in its natural environment. The novelty of it, the stimuli, the structure, and the feedback, that constant feedback that provided dopamine. Okay, story time. I'm not proud of this, but one time I walked into a kid's birthday and I sat down to the Smash Bros setup and proceeded to dismantle every single child in that room one by one, systematically. I was 13. They never invited me back. Worth it. Also, I had a brother who was 17 and he could not beat me in Halo. I was 10. He sucked. He would actually get up and leave the room. Bro had a full villain arc into the manosphere over a video game, and I was just an elementary kid, an elementary school kid. Yeah, good times. Okay, back to the actual point. Now, at this point, you might be thinking what I thought for years. Okay, sure, maybe I just needed more discipline. I needed to put down the games. I needed a better routine, a better planner, a better app. I just needed to try harder. I'll be fine. And I tried all of that in one way or another. I even tried walking away from gaming, thinking that games were the problem. I tried productivity system, getting up at 5 a.m., Pomodoro bullshit, journaling, and this is at a time where I was not aware of the ADHD scenario. Hence, I couldn't tackle it in the right way, maybe you could say. And I was out in these cycles of being depressed and anxious and panic attacks, and the ADHD all over the place. So it was tricky. I tried the just power through it school of thought, and let me zoom in on one of these because I bet you've done your own version of it. And I think that the one that I stuck with the most was like a fancy agenda that I got. I had a bunch of stuff and stickers and whatever, but eventually, like most of those systems, it broke down for me. And I thought, I can't stick to a notebook. What the hell's wrong with me? And that's kind of like a trap. And every time I failed, you know what conclusion I came to. I didn't think the system was wrong for me. I come to, I'm wrong. I'm the thing nobody told me. Trying harder doesn't fix a brain that needs different inputs. It just makes you exhausted, stuck, and maybe even depressed. So the problem was never that I wasn't disciplined enough. The problem was that I had been handed a manual for a brain that I did not have. Circling back, when you play a game and you're good, not just okay, actually genuinely good, and your brain does the thing it can never seem to do anywhere else. For me, that was proof that I wasn't worthless. That hardware worked. It just needed the right input, and games gave me that. And I don't think that I've ever said it out loud or how much this mattered, because here's what made it matter so much. I was the youngest boy in a family of 7, and even though the house was full of people, I felt invisible, like a ghost floating through the rooms that were crowded but somehow empty. And I learned early that I couldn't control what happened to me, but I could control what happened in the video game, in my video game world. Life was unpredictable and had no structure, but in the video game, the path was carved, and I had a say in it. So gaming was one of those places where my inner child could actually breathe. What now, Thug at you? What? I once stayed up until 4 a.m. catching Pokemon for my dream shiny team. I needed to catch a Gardevoir, a Lopunny, and a Vaporeon. Don't ask. And I do it again. Zero regrets. This is fine. Okay, get out. Here's what I want you to actually do with this. Not 5 things, just one thing. The next time you catch yourself in a gaming set, hyper focus, that thing you've been told your whole life is the problem. I want you to stop and just notice what you're doing at the moment. Notice what your brain is doing. Don't shame it. Study it. What does it want? Clear goals, fast feedback, visible progress, stimulation. Something to have any of those 4 ingredients? Probably not. And that's not a you problem. That's a design problem. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. You stop trying to force a brain that runs on dopamine and feedback to function in an environment that gives it neither. You are set up for failure in a way. So now you start designing your life around how you actually work, not how you were told you should work. Let me give you an example of my own life. For years, I always liked telling stories, and in high school, in middle school, high school, I used to write comic books and tell these stories to my friends, and eventually that kind of pivoted into me becoming a bit more of a reader and getting into some books. But I struggled so much to finish a book, and that led me into writing somehow. So I started writing short stories. It was something that I really loved and liked, but I struggled with it immensely. And for years and years, I would accumulate short stories that I was unable to finish. I would accumulate books and references that I wanted to go through that I never was able to get through. And eventually I would end up feeling like garbage, and kind of like shutting down. So I tried kind of like making it into a little game, setting up timers, streaks, giving myself small rewards or point systems. It was very rough, but it was something that helped me get motivated for writing a little bit more. It was a little bit silly, but and at this time I was not aware that I had a ADHD yet, so I'm not even sure how I navigated to that solution, but yeah. So suddenly the same task my brain had refused to touch for months became something that I was looking forward to. The same brain, same task, different design, and here's what changes when you start doing that everywhere. You stop white knuckling through your day. You stop ending every day feeling like you failed at being a normal person. You stop collecting more evidence that you are broken, and slowly, really slowly, you start trusting your own brain again, not because it's been fixed, because it was never the thing that needed fixing. I want to know your version of this. When did gaming first became like your place? Your brain actually worked and it felt like a home. It felt more like a home, like your actual home maybe? Or what was that feeling like? Drop it in the comments. Let me know. Because a lot of people watching this have never had anyone name this thing out loud. And sometimes just experience your own experience reflected back at you is enough. Because here's what I finally figured out. Gaming gave my ADHD brain stimulation, comfort, and proved that I wasn't worthless. But it also became something I could disappear into if I wasn't careful enough. So what helped me survive also became something I could disappear into. So the hardware was never broken. It just needed the right input. Like, follow, subscribe. If you enjoyed this video, here's another one that you might like. And yeah, this is GeekySama geeking out. See ya in the next one.